This is chock full of slaves, this chocolate bar.
Slave
There's
quote.
so many slaves in this thing, there's one in every bite.
Got it.
Welcome to another episode of the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker. It's the musical, the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker. We're going to sing the entire show today. No, we're not going to do that at all. Our client for today is 10 Steps to be a Spelunking Junkie.
Behold, trapped in a hellscape of their own invention, socially unaware old white men bound by the pretense of being fake lawyers yet knowing no law, no exquisite Latin terminology, they are inexplicably compelled to quibble over minutia, squabble over triflings, and bicker like those who value their backyards far too highly without even knowing the difference between an easement and an alleyway. At this very moment, you have entered the heart of the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker. Let's get started.
This is a PSA, basically, because it's paid for by the government, so I don't know if it counts as a sponsor.
You like PSAs. You find the
I
PSAs
do.
a lot. And
I'm
if you're going to find somebody who doesn't give us money, those definitely don't give us any money.
I'm publicly minded. I care about the common weal. Here we go.
Don't reinvent the wheel.
Donald J. Trump was inarguably the greatest president. Whoa. Let's start.
You want to try that from the beginning? You're getting paid to say things correctly.
Donald J. Trump was inarguably the greatest president ever to serve the greatest of countries, if only for creating a new branch of the military, the Space Force. For the first time, America is prepared to take on ETs, Tribbles, Tusken Raiders, Thanoses, gleep glops, Kardashians, Martians needing women, xenomorphs, and black modelists that promote hostility amongst monkeys. So sign up today to the Space Force. We won't pay for your college, but we will pay for you to go to San Diego Comic-Con every year so you can research the threats that imperil our small planet. Overpower and interrogate a stormtrooper in the men's bathroom about the Empire's designs on Earth. Infiltrate a Klingon bar mitzvah and extract intel. Your Space Force enrollment offers blanket immunity. So fuck Slave Leia if you want. Just don't contract Alderon scabies. So join the Space Force. It's not just a job. It's an adventure. I couldn't think of anything more clever.
So you stole the Navy's tagline for Space Force?
It's not just a job, it's a space adventure. It's a cosmic adventure.
Get Alderon scabies?
This a thing. Why do you think Luke never had sex with Leia? It wasn't because he was his sister.
Uh-huh. It was
those Alderons.
She had scabies?
Well, he could have gotten it because they all have sex with their cousins and brothers and sisters there. They're like the country bumpkins of the universe.
So let me make sure I get this straight. So this public service announcement was essentially a recruitment message for the Space Force.
Yeah, because they need more people.
Okay. Well, I suppose, it's as good as any other, but I don't know what gleep glops are.
Well, you'll find out soon enough, and thank God we have the Space Force.
Well, you mentioned other fictitious aliens, so I thought maybe gleep glops were part of some kind of science fiction story that I wasn't familiar with.
I bet it was at one point.
You bet it was. Yeah. Out of your mind, you made it up, and yet you think that it's part of somebody else's story.
I'm sure Jules Verne had a story with the gleep glops.
It was like 10,000 Leagues Under the Gleep Glops. Is that what you're saying?
Well, it was about aliens invading Earth, so.
The Gleep Glop machine from Jules Verne.
Because next week I'm going to do a sequel to this.
Oh, sorry, that was H.G. Wells. I got confused.
Yeah, next week I'm doing a sequel to the Space Force one.
What's the sequel to the Space Force going to be?
Well, I'll just give you a hint.
Yeah, is it the Jedi Force?
I don't know if I can. That'll be okay, it's the Earth Force.
The Earth Force.
Earth Force.
Sorry, so you have the Burp Force is what
the Burp Force.
That's next week's fake sponsor. All right. Well, for those of you who are joining on TikTok, my name is Matt, and Greg is here. That you can't see him. We're doing our podcast right now, the
Can't
Law
hear me.
Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker on YouTube, where you can find us on our YouTube channel, or you can check us out at www.qsblaw.org. Today, we're going to be talking about our client, which is 10 steps to be a spelunking junkie. So, what are those 10 steps? How does one become a junkie? Well, or a spelunker for that matter. First of all, Greg, do you know where the word spelunking comes from?
No, they don't seem to know the word for such a mundane sport.
It does seem, but it actually has a relatively boring story behind it. The word comes from the Latin spelunca, which means cave. And so back in like the 40s or 50s, some guy decided to call his hobby of looking into caves spelunking because he knew that was part of Latin. And,
but what is it? What is Latin for mountain? Mountain climbers don't give themselves some highfalutin Latin term. I'm a mountain climber. I'm in a mountain climber.
Well, they might. I don't know. I haven't looked into it.
No, they haven't. There's mountain.
Well, you
climbing.
don't know that they haven't.
Well, there might be one weirdo who hasn't caught on, but mountain climbers call themselves mountain climbers. What do you do for relaxation? I like to mountain climb. Spelunkers.
What if what if the Latin for mountain is actually mountain? Then it would all make sense, wouldn't it?
Yes, but it also says climbing, which makes it very. I know what you're talking about. How come the guy didn't just say, "Oh, I'm a cave climber" or cave?
Well, I mean, that is another term for spelunking. Is called caving. As a matter of fact, in the UK, another term for caving or spelunking is potholing, which is like a vertical hole cave. They call it a pothole. Potholing. Yes.
So is that just like kind of a funny thing? Like, because no pothole's that big that you could spelunk in it.
Well, I mean, they call them that. That's their term for it. So it's their term for a cave is a pothole. We just have a different definition of pothole here.
It's not being cutesy. No,
it's like their legitimate term.
Okay.
And you cut out for some reason for you're talking. Anyway, the Latin for mountain is mons, M-O-N-S.
Oh, yeah.
Which I have heard used for women's breasts before. So that's probably why they don't use that term for mountain climbing.
Or just
because then they would think it would have to do with climbing onto a woman.
Or they just were pretentious assholes who are like, we're English speakers. Let's call it mountain climbing.
That made them pretentious by calling it mountain climbing?
No, they weren't pretentious. If they were pretentious, they'd be like, Munzers. We are Munzus.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if that would be pretentious. But you're saying that using the word spelunking is pretentious.
Well, it's just like such a weird word. Like it doesn't even tell you what it means unless you know.
Again, unless you look up the derivation
exactly.
of the word. It could be just the guy was having a little bit of fun with it. You know, I mean,
it is a fun word.
It didn't have to be pretentious. It could just be, you know, this is our club and we're going to call it a spelunking club because it has to do with going into caves.
It is a goofy, fun word. It sounds like something a vaudeville comedian would say, spelunking. Like it is a goofy sounding word. So
a vaudevillian.
Yeah, kind of.
Would say so. A vaudevillian performer would call it would use spelunking over
a vaudevillian.
Caving. Would they?
It's not a vaudevillain, Matt. They're not villains.
Why would they use spelunking over any other term as a vaudevillian? It sounds like
some funny Yiddish term that they love those people. You know those people.
Right, the vaudevillians.
Yeah, the vaudevillians.
The vaudevillians. Those are the guys who would use spelunking over anybody else.
How do you say a vaudeville in plural? People who do vaudeville plural.
I just say vaudeville. I don't pronounce
vaudeville?
the E. I don't pronounce the E in vaudeville.
No, I'm talking about the people.
It's just vaudeville. I just say vaudeville, not vaudeville.
Oh, vaudevillians.
Yes, exactly. So that's why my jeering is happening right now. My quibbling is occurring because of you pronouncing things differently than me. But in terms of spelunking, you know, funny you should bring that up because in the movie Sunshine Boys, which is two vaudevillians, one of them talks about how words with the letter K are funnier than others. And so I was thinking of that before you brought up vaudevillians. And then you went straight into it and you just gave me something else to make fun of. So,
like monkey. Everyone thinks monkey's a funny word, and also junkie. It's a sad word, but it sounds kind of funny if you didn't know how sad a junkie is.
Although, junkie is used lots of times for things that have nothing to do with heroin.
Junkie?
Yeah, like adrenaline junkies. Like people who are addicted to things.
Yeah, it all started from that, though. And like,
it started from heroin.
It's just like chocoholics.
Yes.
Chocoholics is this cute thing. Like, people are like, I'm a chocoholic.
So you're saying that person who like gets addicted to chocolate, they don't actually get withdrawals like people from alcohol do?
They do, but it doesn't ruin their life, and they end up stealing TVs, living on the street.
I think some people who are really into chocolate could steal TVs to just support that chocolate habit.
Like if they have really fancy Swiss chocolate taste, they're like, I can't afford these fancy Swiss chocolates.
My wife got a chocolate bar from one of her students, which had to have been like a centimeter thick. Like it was a thick piece of chocolate. It was like this peppermint chocolate. And it was this brand called Chocolonely. And they are dedicated to 100% slave-free chocolate, which I thought was really fascinating because I've never heard of chocolate involving slaves.
Slave-full chocolate.
No, this is chock full of slaves, this chocolate bar. There's so many slaves in this thing, there's one in every bite. So I don't think that's what they mean by that. I think it has to do with like the harvesting of the cocoa beans, but I didn't know that was happening in African countries, or let's even say South American countries, that there was slave labor going on. So
because I thought that was a mild, like, I get the whole blood diamonds thing, because most people don't want to go into a fucking mine and get a bunch of diamonds for some rich people. That's a harsh, life-endangering work. But I thought picking cocoa beans was just like, I'm a farmer or whatever. It's not like something you have to enslave me to want to do. It's like,
it's something I think I would have to look into it a little bit deeper, because it's certainly an area of knowledge that I don't have. I didn't even realize that there were huge slave issues going on in the chocolate industry whatsoever. Anyway, so I wound up buying like 6 bars from this company, and basically jacking the diabetes back into place from.
So no more blood chocolate for you? You're not going to buy blood chocolate?
Well, anymore? I will get blood chocolate if it's the right flavor of blood. That's the kind of chocolate that I would prefer.
A positive.
That's right. It has to be A positive blood for me to really.
So your body doesn't reject it?
Yeah, exactly. I like my chocolate soupy and bloody. That's the kind of blood that I prefer. However, we're doing a completely different show than what we started, which is supposed to be the 10 steps to being a spelunking junkie. All right, so we've got the concept that spelunking is caving, going into caves, and it comes from a Latin word, and it's speluncus, something like that. But what would actually cause somebody to want to go into a cave and like dig around in there? Because I would think you could easily get stuck in one of those caves. If you're like,
well, mountains, you could fall off a mountain cliff. People like the danger and the thrill.
A mountain cliff?
A mountain top, a mountain wall. Mountain climbing is fucking dangerous.
I haven't even been talking about mountains. You keep bringing mountains up. I'm talking about caves. You keep changing the subject.
I know, but I'm saying it's
Where obvious. Is your head in a mountain right now? Or is it in a cave?
It's in some mons right now. I'm thinking about mons all the time.
Get back into a cave, Greg.
Thinking about boobies. No, I'm just saying, like, yeah, it's the danger, it's the thrill. Yeah, it's like, I could get stuck here. I might fall off onto this shit. What are those things called?
I don't know.
The big things that stick up from the bottom.
As
opposed to the things that stick up from the top.
What the hell are you talking about? Oh, are you talking about stalactites and stalagmites?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's dangerous. It's like an extreme sport.
I thought you were suggesting that, if people went into a cave, they would uncover your penis. And then that would be a dangerous thing.
It could be.
Could be.
Depending on my mood.
And how much you polished it that day.
And sharpened it.
Exactly.
No, but I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's like cave And caves are fucking beautiful. I mean, like I lived in Arizona. We had the Carlsbad Caverns. Well, that was closer to New Mexico, sorry. But we had lots of people would pay to go to these caves. They're fucking stunning. Like, did you ever see that Werner Herzog documentary about caves?
No.
It is like alien planet, wondrous, beautiful, crazy shits in those caves.
Right.
So it is a little dangerous. And yeah, maybe you'll fall and nobody will know you're there and you'll die of starvation. But mountain climbing is the same thing. There's lots of sports that are like.
Stop bringing up mountain climbing.
Okay, it could
got
be
nothing.
anything.
We're not talking about mountain climbing.
I know, but I'm trying to explain to you why this is why people do it. It might be dangerous, but it's a thrill, and it's worth it too because you get to see these amazing formations in the cave. Caves are amazing.
How can you see them if it's dark?
Bring a flashlight.
Oh, does that work? Like alternative forms of light can actually show you what's in the caves?
Yeah. Is
that what you're trying to tell me? That they make things like light bulbs?
If you don't bring a flashlight, though, yeah, you'll just be like, wow, this smells funny.
It would just smell funny.
You know, when I was a kid, that's why I hated Space Mountain. I went to Walt Disney World when I was like 10. And Space Mountain, to me, I know it was this wicked roller coaster, but you couldn't see anything. So to me, it was just like closing my eyes and going like this. It was like,
and you do that usually after a few too many shots of whiskey.
I know, this is like, wow, this is exciting. I'm just being can't see anything. I can't see where the tracks
are. All right, so what's
hitting.
the first step to being a spelunking junkie?
Well, we weren't supposed to take it that literal, but if you want to do this, we were just going to talk about addiction today, I thought. But
I mean, we can talk about addiction, but
but it's so spelunking junkie. I don't know what would make a junkie want to live in a cave.
Well, I think the first step is you have to be a junkie, right?
Yeah,
a spelunking junkie. So the first step is
find
a heroin dealer. And actually, I don't even know where you find heroin dealers. I mean, where do you find those?
Well, we don't need them in Portland anymore because we changed the laws. We can get it legally, I think.
You can get legal heroin? Where? Is there like dispensaries for heroin?
No, I guess it's just not illegal to have it. If we do find it from some illegal source, they can't bust us.
Okay. That still doesn't answer my question, though.
No, I don't know.
Where do you find heroin from?
And we're just talking, there's junkies of all kinds. You could be like a...
And why are you dressed like Green Arrow today?
You should see my chest right now.
The Green Arrow hood.
It's so cut, my naked chest. You can see my pecs.
Yeah, well, I'll
like
avoid
Green
that.
Arrow.
Okay.
No, I just got a new hoodie, and it's very comfortable, so I wear it every day now.
You wear it inside your house?
Yeah,
it's freezing. Okay.
It's fucking cold as hell.
Sorry to hear that.
One of two sweaters I'm wearing, and a jacket, and three t-shirts.
Yeah. So the first step is finding a heroin dealer to be a spelunking junkie.
Well, why heroin? You could be a junkie about other things, right?
Yeah, but that's kind of where it all starts, right? Is started with heroin is where people became, because another word for heroin is junk. So people who were doing junk became junkies. So that's where that comes from.
Yeah, it's not hard to find a heroin dealer.
We don't know where you find a heroin dealer.
I know. I could find one, though. Just find the coolest person you know. Ask them.
The coolest person you know.
Yeah, the person who's very hip and cool. Say, hey, where can I get some heroin? And I'll be like.
When you talk to them, though, you have to whisper.
Yeah.
Hey, are you the coolest person I know?
I have to do ASL.
The fact that I'm whispering, shows that they're cool. And then, hey, where do I get some heroin?
And they'll hook you up with their dealer. And after one shot of heroin, you're an addict.
So so the coolest person you know is strung out on junk. A junkie is what you're saying.
A lot of people...
Because you said they'll send you to their dealer. So you're already assuming the coolest person you know is already a junkie.
Well, he's addicted to it, but some people can function for years just kind of keeping it kind of cool, not fucking up shit. Usually they're rich. If you're rich, like Keith Richards was a junkie his whole life, and he's healthier than anyone you know. He's lived longer than anyone you know.
And he's rich because that's his last name.
Yeah.
Keith Richards.
When he was born,
his name.
They gave him $1 million.
What if the person's first name is Rich? That means that they have money also, right?
And what if his name's Richie Rich, man?
Yes. Then they're super wealthy.
And he has a dog named after chocolate named Cadbury, or Butler. I meant to say.
A dog butler?
A dog
So a
butler.
person has a butler that's a dog.
That's a great sitcom idea.
I've been thinking that we should create a comic book about the law offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker, Greg. And we could make it
have
recurring.
Superpowers?
No, it would just be essentially just a comic book about the podcast every week and the conversation that happens. And that would be the simplicity of it. It wouldn't have to be anything more complicated than that. It would just be basically cartoonizing our heads and then turning that into the conversation.
It doesn't sound like nearly as good as The Watchmen to me.
I don't think it would be anywhere close to being like The Watchmen because of the fact that it wouldn't involve any superpowers or anything interesting.
Then why bother?
Why not? I mean, it's like why climb a mountain, Greg? Why go spelunking, Greg? Why shoot heroin, Greg? Because it's there.
That's right.
That's why you
but
do
if
anything.
I'm going to climb a mountain, it's going to be the biggest fucking mountain, analgesically to The Watchmen. If we're going to do a comic, we're not just going to do some mundane little silly comic. We're going to do something as good as The Watchmen.
What makes it more exciting is you do the most boring thing you can possibly do. That's what will make it exciting, is turning a comic book, because I think the guys from Happy Hour News Team just did a comic book release show of some kind.
Yeah.
So that's what gave me the idea.
So you want to be Harvey Pekar, basically.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, he's a guy who just writes comics about his boring life. He's dead now.
Oh, is he the guy who did American Splendor?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
He was always on David Letterman ranting and going crazy.
See? That's what we do. We rant and we go crazy, even though we're not doing heroin.
And then we'll make comics about it.
So what is the second step? So the first step of being a spelunking junkie
becoming a junkie.
Is finding a dealer.
I'm becoming a junkie.
Well, that'd be like the second step. So the first one is finding a dealer. The second step is actually starting to do heroin to the stage that you're addicted to it. Right? Would you say?
Yeah.
Okay.
Though I've heard, and I think we've talked about this before, that there's some people look at addiction as, like, I've known junkies in my life.
Yeah.
Just destroyed themselves.
Okay.
And I've known some who come out the other side.
Yeah.
And I've known meth heads. Definitely with meth, I've seen it, because meth is a much more evil drug. Like,
yeah, but meth, the guys on meth are called tweakers, and they're called junkies.
Yeah. I'm just saying, as far as addictions go,
okay,
meth is just a drug that really just seems to attack your whole moral part of your brain.
Definitely goes after your teeth.
That's true.
Yeah.
But I've known in my life 2 or 3 people who've come out the other side of meth.
Yeah.
And, now they're just like, they got a job. And they're just amazing people.
Yeah.
And I think that's how good they are.
So you're saying that meth turns people into amazing people if they can get off the meth?
Those people were so fucking great that meth is such an evil, shitty, monstrous drug that only someone who's really great character can come out the other side.
Well, no, I think it's different, Greg. I think it's that they weren't necessarily that great of a person to begin with, but meth, due to the nature of it, so changed their internal chemistry that when they finally had the willpower to get themselves off it, they suddenly became amazing human beings because of meth. So everybody out there, my recommendation to you is try meth today.
So you're saying meth is like a radioactive spider? Right?
Yes.
Like
meth turns people into Spider-Man.
It'll kill most people, but it'll do beautifully.
The statistics are against you. You're probably not going to survive meth. You're basically going to ruin every relationship you have and force you to live in a beat-up trailer home. However, you could be that very tiny percentage of people that comes out of it as a Nobel Prize winner. Peace Prize, of course, not a regular Nobel Prize winner. It doesn't make you good at science. What's
The
that?
people I'm telling you about, they're not that great. They're just
You were telling
really,
me there are these amazing people.
yeah, they're amazing people as far as just like you meet them, you instantly like them. They're just so even keeled.
Okay.
Everyone loves them who meets them. It takes someone who's like almost like a saint-like nature to
Okay,
get
so
through
it
that.
basically heightens their morality, not their intelligence.
It doesn't. It's because they were more people deep down in the first place. That's why meth couldn't fuck them up. Because meth
You've ruined
turns you into
everything,
a monster.
Greg. You've ruined it all. You know.
And then, okay, let's get back to junkies.
Okay.
So I think it's a different thing with junkies. Junkies doesn't really turn you into a monster. It turns you into a sleepy,
Well,
lazy.
I think heroin and meth and a couple of other drugs out there turn you into somebody who your family will not like very much for a while, because you steal their money and you steal their objects and you sell them because you need the money to buy.
But
your
junkies,
fixes.
when they're not stealing from you, are pretty pleasant to hang around. They're just like sitting there and dozing off.
Yeah.
Meth heads are just like monstrous. It like really turns you into an asshole.
Yeah.
It turns you into a piece of shit where you're screaming at people, just like, yeah. Junkies don't do that.
So you're saying, let me just make sure I'm getting this correct, Greg, is that meth, not heroin, turns people into assholes.
Meth is like gamma rays, and heroin.
So meth is like you're in the Fantastic Four.
No, that's heroin is. It's like where, yeah, you
said
function.
meth was gamma rays. Oh, it's like Fantastic Four is cosmic
Meth is
rays.
gamma rays. Turns you into a monster.
The Hulk. The Hulk was gamma rays, right?
Hulk is not a good guy. He's a hero technically, but he's destroyed so many fucking things.
Right.
He's a monster.
So basically, so then to get things correct, and so the Hulk is on meth, is what you're saying. That's why he's the way he is.
And maybe Spider-Man, a radioactive spider, is like heroin, where he's not addicted to it. I mean, he's got it in his blood.
Yeah.
But junkies, they disappoint their parents.
Yeah.
And every now and then they steal, but they probably feel bad about it. They're just like, I fucking eat heroin. It feels so good. And
it's easier to overdose on heroin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Than meth.
But the thing I've noticed about the junkies that have come out on the other side, I've known a few. Because I was in the punk rock scene in Tucson in the 80s. So a lot of guys die from it.
And that's important if you're in the punk rock scene, is you need to become a junkie.
It was a thing,
So you have to be a punky junkie. Who also goes spelunking, so they're a punky junkie spelunker.
And if they're monkeys, it's even better.
They own a monkey.
Junkie monkey.
It's a monkey owning monkey spelunking junkie.
There's our next sitcom.
What if they owned a slinky?
Well, it's a different rhyme scheme. Not gonna make it all a jinky, slinky.
And they ate while they ate a Twinkie.
Slinky, junkie, jinky, clinky. Oh my god.
Slinky owning, Twinkie eating, punking, spelunking junkie.
I'm always amazed that you're always sober. I always I have to stop and be like, no, that's not drunk. Like I am.
Whoever, why would anybody consider that I was drunk of any kind? I mean, come on.
Because you're just.
I think these things through. Otherwise, they wouldn't have the mellifluous nature whenever they are spoken.
But I do think that in the case of junkies I've known who've come through the other side, it was basically because they were kind of, a lot of times they had a rich support system, like their family was pretty well off, so they could keep them on the good heroin so they wouldn't overdose.
Got to get the good heroin to be able to pay for the monkey.
But I did know, I knew a few guys though who were poor though who made it too. And I think it was just because they had amazingly strong characters. Yeah. But it changes them. It's weird how like the junkies I've known, when they were on junk, they were just these like sloppy, annoying fucks.
Yeah.
But then whenever they get clean, they become like the most eager beaver, like, hey man, how's it going? Hey man. Oh,
do you think it's unfair that people give recovering addicts so much credit and yet they don't give any credit to people who are never addicted to anything?
Well, it's hard.
It's like they go, oh, good for you. You've overcome all of these obstacles, the blah blah blah. Whereas there's this guy who just, right out of high school gets a job working, I don't know, fast food or something like that, and survives for like the next 10, 15 years
Yeah.
without ever having done anything that will debilitate him, but that's what he's done. And they get no credit for their lives for
Yeah,
having
some people have
existed.
prone to
You know?
addiction though, and getting out of it's fucking hard, as you probably know. It's
Yeah,
fucking hard.
but still, you know, I mean, but the person who doesn't do it, shouldn't they get some credit for having never gotten themselves in that
Maybe.
circumstance?
I guess.
Don't you think it's kind of unfair that all the junkies and the former junkies get this credit and like the attaboys, you know, when the people who are just plugging away trying to survive get no type of recognition whatsoever?
I guess because they haven't been tested yet. Like, if we don't know what their character is, because if they got addicted, they might just totally end up on the street.
Right, but the thing is that they didn't get addicted, so that
didn't.
should be the feather in their cap, is they did not get
Yes.
they didn't go down that particular spelunker.
That does make a lot of sense. But it's still such a hard thing to get out of addiction that you still got to give, like, be a tip of the cap to the person.
And
like,
that's totally fine. It's totally okay to give
yeah.
people credit for dropping the monkey on their back, you know, stabbing it in the eyeball with an ice pick, you know, that damn monkey that it's been carrying around,
Raping it
which
up
has
the
nothing to do with the truckers who have monkeys that we talked about last week. But the fact is, though, is that, you know, people should get credit for kicking it, but it feels unfair for those who did not go through addiction, that they don't get credit and they don't get recognition. They just kind of go on living their lives of whatever, either mundaneness or something that is a great life. Hard to say, because there's people on either sides, you know. Maybe they don't need that to feed them to continue living. I don't know.
They might have had a more fun, exciting life if they were junkies.
You know, the one thing that you cannot be addicted to, suicide. I'll tell you that right now.
What about attempts, though? What if
That's different. Attempting is much different. You can be addicted to attempting suicide, but actual suicide, you know, there's no addiction there. It's you do it once, you're done. You don't get to do it again.
I guess.
Unless you believe in reincarnation, and then I suppose you could do it as many times as you want.
Wow. And you'd keep coming back as a lesser creature, so you'd be a one-celled amoeba.
Yeah,
eventually.
so then you would have to just go with like past lives as opposed to reincarnation, so then you can keep coming back as a human. So it would depend upon that particular belief system, I think.
I think the Hindu religion doesn't think that killing yourself is cool. So you'd probably come back.
The Hindus, it's reincarnation. I think Buddhism, it's more past lives. So the difference in those Eastern philosophies.
What do you mean by past life? So what is the afterlife?
So in other words, let's assume that you are a spirit, right? Like that's what inhabits your body. Mm-hmm. So when your body goes, then the spirit goes off to wherever it wants to go. Let's say it shoots off to a hospital and gets into a pregnant woman or something, right? So then it just moves into another life, another body. So the life that it just left is its past life. It's not like it's become a turtle or something.
So, but it is reincarnation. Your soul's being reincarnated.
Yeah, but reincarnation, generally the concept of reincarnation is that you're coming back as something different, you know, like a different animal, a different type of consciousness. Whereas if you're just looking at past lives, it's just you're moving from one human form to another, you know. I mean, I suppose you could inhabit animals if you wanted to, you know, depending upon how conscious you are, how aware you are when, you know, as a spirit, like you're flitting around. If you're a junkie who died in a cave, I don't know where you wind up going. But that does bring us to the third step of becoming a spelunking junkie, which is you need to buy items to go into caves with.
This is where it gets tricky. I mean, junkies usually don't even have enough money to buy their own.
Well, then they steal this. They go to REI and they shoplift the stuff they need.
I guess, but they're usually stealing just to supply their habit. So then on top of that, they're like, now I'm going to have a second habit, spelunking.
Well, maybe they're growing poppies down in the cave so that they can, you know, create their own heroin.
Yeah.
Actually, how do you create heroin, Greg? I mean, obviously it's poppies, but what do you do with poppies? Because you can make opium out of poppies, but then heroin somehow comes from poppies also.
Well, you take the poppies and you braise them in a nice
with some
white wine.
barbecue sauce,
So
maybe.
barbecue and white wine,
Yes.
and then you put it in the oven for 40 minutes
At what degree?
with some shallots. Don't forget the shallots.
Okay.
This is a lead into Waspy. Waspy would tell you.
Well, speaking of Waspy Soda Pop, we're at about that time. So maybe since you were talking about cooking and the way to cook heroin, why don't we move into our...
That's called a segue, Matt. You're welcome.
I thank you so much. You said you're welcome before I could thank you. It's not right.
That's
Anyway,
why
so let's go into our next segment. This is Waspy Soda Pop. Let's get him a rolling.
Food is for eating. Food is for eating. Food is for eating with Waspy Soda Pop.
Hey there, everybody. This is Waspy Soda Pop with another edition of Food is for Eating. Got a great guest for you today. It's another one of my cousins from the old country. This is Vespe Sprudel. Hello there. This is Vespe Sprudel. I have an excellent recipe for you to commemorate the birth of noted composer Friedrich Handel, who was born on this day back a long, long time ago. We'll be making Schweineschnitzel. These are your ingredients. 4 boneless pork chops, salt and freshly ground black pepper, 1/2 cup all-purpose flour combined with 1 teaspoon of salt, 2 large eggs lightly beaten, 3/4 cup plain breadcrumbs, some oil for frying, 1 ounce of freshly shaved facial hair. The color is your preference. Here are your instructions. 1. Place the pork chops between 2 sheets of plastic wrap and pound them until just 1/4 inch thick with the flat side of a meat tenderizer. Just imagine they are your enemies. Lightly season both sides with salt and freshly ground black pepper. Mix the breadcrumbs with the facial hair at this time. Next, you will place the flour mixture, egg, facial hair, and breadcrumbs in 3 separate shallow bowls. Dip the chops in the flour, the egg, and the breadcrumbs, coating both sides and all edges at each stage. Be careful not to press the breadcrumbs into the meat, or you will be punished. Gently shake off the excess crumbs. Don't let the schnitzel sit in the coating, or they will not be as crispy once fried. Fry them immediately! Next, make sure the cooking oil is hot enough at this point. You do not want the schnitzel to sit around in the coating before frying. Use enough oil so the schnitzels swim in it. Make them swim. Swim. Then fry the schnitzel for about 2 to 3 minutes on both sides until a deep golden brown. Transfer briefly to a plate lined with paper towels. Why? You know why. Do not question me. Where are your papers? Serve immediately. The slices of fresh lemon and parsley sprigs, or with your choice of sauce. You may serve this with spätzle or kartoffel salad or whatever. I do not care. Well, it's always a pleasure to have my cousins from the old country show up. That was Vespe Sprudel with some, I don't know what the hell that was. I think that was Schweineschnitzel. Anyway, this is Waspy Soda Pop. Food is for eating. See you next week. That was a very cranky German.
Man, he has rage issues. He was just about to blow up at every second.
It was. It's like I could hear the veins popping in his throat.
Yeah.
He's just.
I mean, he was just doing
a valuable recipe if you like facial hair with your schnitzel.
So was that the title of the recipe?
The title was Schweineschnitzel.
Is that hair in German or something? Or
no, that's like pork schnitzel.
Okay.
But you just, I think, just means something.
But this German guy just figured, why not add facial hair to it?
Well, I would think that if you're frying something with facial hair, that maybe it actually adds something to the texture of the breadcrumbs. It
something disgusting.
Get all crispy. Well, it's kind of like if you have fried chicken and there's still like the little pin feathers that are still there that they. You can still.
I've never had that, thankfully.
Crackle them with.
Because we all know how great it is when you light your hair on fire. That smell. It smells wonderful. Everyone loves that smell.
Right, but in this case, it's being done deliberately to add to the flavor and texture of the schnitzel.
Yeah.
So I'd say it's worth. Again, hopefully nobody ever will make any of the recipes that Waspy Soda Pop has for us. That would be a bad thing. But let's just move on to our next segment, which of course everybody knows is it's Ask Greg.
I would like to say real quick that I hope, however that German cousin pronounces his name, comes back.
That's was a Vespa.
Wispy.
No, it was Vespa Sprudel or something like that. Sprudel was the name.
He's I like of all the cousins that Waspy brought on. Yeah. He's at least the most intriguing because I just can't wait to see him blow up one day and just.
He wasn't as intriguing as the Italian cousin.
He was better.
Definitely better than the Hungarian one.
Yeah, I like this guy because you don't know where. I can't wait to watch him like watching a car wreck. It's like, oh my God, he's gonna just blow a gasket one day.
I suppose that's possible.
Freak out.
Well, all right, let's move into our next segment. Gosh, I don't even know if we got any questions. Anybody on TikTok have a question for Greg? We're going to be asking him legal questions. He's not a lawyer, so he gives his advice on legal questions. So, all right, we'll just go right into it. Why don't we just do that?
He has an opinion, may not always be right. He's a real fake lawyer. He's old and he's white. Ask him a question, 'cause he's a good egg for bogus advice. Ask Greg. Ask Greg. Ask Greg.
We have a legal question for Greg. So, dear Greg, why is it that Sammy Hagar can't drive 55?
Most of the speed limit laws in America were actually written in the 70s for Sammy Hagar because he kept breaking them. Most people were great. Most people weren't speeding around. They were like, hey, I'm going to drive safely. But that fucker, Sammy Hagar, every state he was in, driving 90 miles an hour. So they enacted these laws for him, basically, like, slow down. So he does have to drive 55 because he kept abusing. Most people just knew that, don't go crazy. There's no sign up. Because remember when we were young kids, there weren't as many speed limit things. There was kind of a thing in the 60s and 70s where it's like, we have to say these are the speed limits because people are driving like maniacs. Yeah. That was all Sammy Hagar, though.
Well, don't you think it would have been better if they had just made it like the autobahn and he could just go as fast as he wanted?
I think Germans are just inherently, not to sound racist, inherently better drivers than we are.
Is that racist? So
they can do it.
Is it racist to say the Germans are better drivers than we are?
Yeah, because we as a people genetically.
Yeah, but you as a people don't drive. You don't even have a driver's license.
I know, but if I did, I'm genetically inferior in driving skill to German.
Oh.
As you are too.
Am I? I've been on the autobahn.
I know, and you're not as good as a German. You were risking everyone's life.
I was driving a German car.
That's maybe true.
And my car couldn't go any faster than what I was driving it at either. It was like, it just stalled at like 130 miles an hour. I couldn't get it to go any faster.
You were going 130 miles an hour?
I was. It was awesome.
Fuck.
I did learn quickly, however, that you need to give yourself a lot of room to brake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's physics.
Yes. If you're going twice as fast as you are on an American highway, you should give yourself twice as much room to slow the hell down and make sure you got that seatbelt on. I did freak myself out a couple of times driving on the Autobahn. Once there was like heavy fog and I was just zipping along and then suddenly the fog shows up and you cannot see anything for about 100 yards. So you think you're going to die because you don't have any idea what's in front of you. You don't have traffic stopped or anything like that. And as soon as you start slowing down, you're out of the fog again. And you're like, oh, everything's fine. And then the fog hits again. So there were a number of white knuckle moments whenever I was driving in Germany.
So when there was a fog, though, that you couldn't see that far ahead of you, you kept going 130 or you did slow down?
No, I slowed down because I thought I would die if I didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't drive, but yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Don't
yeah, it was like it was a heavy fog that night I was driving. There were points I was driving from Eastern Germany to Western Germany. And when I started off in back roads, where the fog was really, really thick, and I literally could not see past the end of the front of the car. Like, that was how thick it was. And I'm like driving with my face like over my steering wheel, trying to see if there's like anything coming at me, because I thought most of that time that I really was gonna die. It was it was harrowing. I don't use that word often, but that was a harrowing trip that night. And I finally got onto the autobahn, and then I was like, good, until I hit those patches of fog where then again I thought I was gonna die. But the rest of my time in Germany, I was there for about a month. I had a great time driving the autobahn.
Was it like Stephen King's The Mist? Is that why you were scared? You thought monsters?
No, I was afraid because the roads are kind of narrow, at least in those back roads. Yeah. And, you know, trucks would go by and you didn't know if they're on the right side of the road or not because you can't see the line in the middle of the road. So, yeah, or somebody could be stopped in front of you and you're tooling along, but you wouldn't know that they were stopped until you're like right up on them because you can't see the lights because the fog is so thick. Right. So that's the bigger issues. So anyway, all right. So we've gone through our what?
I get scared in the fog just walking because I saw John Carpenter's The Fog.
And I don't get scared about supernatural things.
I don't want some pirates attacking me, ghost pirates.
I'm not frightened by books that I've read unless they're books about real things. So I don't have these unnatural fears that a lot of people have about supernatural things like ghosts and zombies and any of that stuff. I don't have any fear.
What about cryptids who might be?
Nah, I don't have any fear of Bigfoot or Loch Ness Monster or anything like that. I mean, I have real fear for like bears or moose that will trample you or things that have been well documented as could potentially kill you. Those are things that I have a healthy fear of
or
in
crappies.
Circumstances. What, a crappie, like the fish, the small fish? Yeah. Major fear of those. But I don't even really have like a fear of piranha if I were to fall into a river with piranha.
What?
No, because they don't work as fast as people think they do. You can get out of the water quick enough that you're not going to like be completely stripped unless you're really slow swimmer. No, you can get out of there. However, you can have fear of like a full-grown python or anaconda or a cobra or a king snake or coral snake, whatever the ones that are really poisonous. You know, these are all things that are heavily documented, and they're not cryptids, and they can legitimately kill you. And so those are things to have like a natural fear of.
I've never seen any of those creatures, so to me that's a cryptid. If I
those snakes are not real,
it's a cryptid. I've seen gardener snakes. What are they called? Garden snakes?
Gardener snakes? They're snakes that actually come up and they like dig furrows and they plant seeds.
Yeah, and their strawberries are amazing. Their fresh strawberries.
They're excellent at pruning hedges, these snakes.
But I've never seen a boa constrictor, not even in a zoo.
It's like you've never seen a boa constrictor, not even at like a snake show with naked women?
A snake show.
Yeah, you know, where like a stripper has her own boa constrictor.
I know, but I like how you call it a snake show with naked women. It's
I think that comes from my time when I was overseas and they had things called donkey shows, which involved actual donkeys. So I was assuming that you would call it a snake show if they were using snakes.
It's true. I've seen strippers like sexually dance with snakes. Yeah. I guess I have seen a boa constrictor. I'm sorry.
I had a feeling that you'd seen a boa constrictor before.
I guess just not in the wild. That's a big difference.
Wild, yes.
Unless
it's a wild stripper.
I would like to go on that safari. That sounds like a Sammy Hagar song.
It's like Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. Here we hunt the elusive stripper.
No, it sounds like a Sammy Hagar song. Stripper safari. Ow! I'm on the prowl.
Yeah, that was, I think, the name of his second album.
Yeah. And then they said he couldn't drive 55, and
and then he wound up joining Van Halen after that, and then everything changed. After he joined Van Halen, there was no more being able to not drive the speed limit anymore. He had to drive the normal speed limit. But we still need to get back to the final few steps of how to be a spelunking junkie. So we've got find a dealer, take heroin and become a junkie. Go shoplift your equipment from REI. I think that's step number 3. Find a cave would be number 4, I think. Number 5 would be, I guess, go in the cave.
Descend.
Yes, walk into the cave, fall into the cave. 6 would be to, once you're in the cave, yell out, hello, a lot. I think that would be step 6.
Is that the sign of a true spelunker?
Yeah, you go
He
into
knows
the
what he's
cave
doing.
and yell, hello. And you have to tilt your head back when you do it too. That's, I think, step 6. And then step 7 of being a spelunking junkie is you pull out your junk apparatus and shoot up. And then step 8 would be falling asleep in the cave long enough for all the lights to go out and the batteries to die. And then 9 would be wondering where you are after that happens, and 10 would be dying in the cave.
Old and lonely death.
Right. As strung out junkie in the bottom of a cave. And I think we've hit the full 10 steps of this particular way to become a spelunking junkie.
But maybe the bats would come to your rescue and they'd take pity on you, and the bats would...
it wouldn't turn you into Batman or Morbius?
Man bat would turn you into...
Man bat.
Man bat, not Batman.
But you're saying that like a race of kindly bats could possibly put you on their shoulders and fly you out of there?
You'd be like Tarzan, basically.
You had like the ability to talk to bats?
Yeah. Do sonar with them.
It's like, how long would you have to live in a cave before the bats finally were able to give you their knowledge so that you could have sonar and find your way out of the cave?
You might have to be like a child junkie like Tarzan and like grow up in a cave.
A child junkie?
Yes, child spelunking junkie. Whose parents were junkies. They left you.
If you were, what was the name of the kid in Goonies? Wasn't he called Chunk? So if you were a spelunking junkie called Chunk, then you could live in the cave.
Chunk the spelunking junkie.
His nickname, of course, was Chunky, so he was a chunky spelunking junkie. Who owned a slinky and once saw a monkey.
He was spelunkiferous.
By a donkey. All right. We've gotten into one of those very strange Twilight Zone eras of our show.
But I'm amazed that you got all the steps of becoming a spelunking junkie.
That
really wasn't the plan. It was just some goofy title. And
what are you talking about? We have a client, and we have to do right by our client.
But the client was supposed to be addiction, really. That was the kooky title that had a nice ring to it.
I don't know what you wanted to talk about regarding addiction. I mean, if we were going to talk about addiction, we probably should have said this is about addiction.
No, we always give
10 steps to be an addict.
We always give goofy titles to our shows, you know.
Maybe we could do another. We could have another one next week of like how you too can become an addict.
Or
we could do like an entire educational film. You know,
lose 20
today
pounds
on the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker. We see Jimmy and Joey sitting outside their classroom, wondering exactly why they were kicked out. And it turns out that they were huffing glue in the back seats, and the teacher did not appreciate it. This is their first step to a life of crime. Anyway.
You are such a Generation Xer. Nobody knows what you were talking about right now. They were like, why is he doing this?
They don't know about those films that they used to show in school.
No.
I don't know. They might still show those.
Yeah, but they have good technology now.
Yeah, I guess so. They can just pull up YouTube or something.
Yeah, it's a PowerPoint.
And play it on the screen as opposed to bringing out the projector.
Yeah, the movie that's been shown like 4,000 times in 20 years.
That's right. And there was always that hope that it would like break down and you get to hear that flapping sound of the film going back and forth.
And the flame. What do they call it? The cigarette burn, get bigger.
Oh, and the film would actually like melt on camera. That was always nice too. And I always kind of wanted to be the guy who got to run the projector, because that was like the more interesting part of the whole thing anyway, was learning how to thread the film into the projector and do it badly and watch it snap.
Oh, you would do that? You would sabotage it?
Not on purpose, just because I just wasn't good at those things. I'm not a mechanically inclined individual. I call myself at home an unhandy man, or a not handy man. It's like I can get to a certain point of something where I go, oh, I'm done. Forget it. I'm just like, can we just hire somebody? I'm going to call somebody and have them do it, and that's what'll happen. So yeah.
I don't even try.
You don't even, well, you live in an apartment. You can just call the landlord.
No, but I mean things like my toaster, like things that they have no.
Like your toaster. What about is there something wrong with your toaster, Greg?
Something happened to my toaster. I'd just be like, fuck it.
Did something happen to your toaster?
No, it's a theoretical.
Well, you would just buy a new toaster.
God, when I used to buy VCRs and DVD players and shit, just hooking up to my TV every few years was I'd wait like 2 days. I'd be like, oh, fuck. I have to use my brain. And of course, I'd always do it in like 5 minutes. It was always easy. Yeah. But I would just read it. I'd be like, oh, something mechanical.
Oh, hey, we've got a couple of comments on YouTube, Greg. So from someone named Coleman Taylor, their comment was vor.red. That is their comment. And then Sanchez Eldorado's on here saying newsreels. So I don't know if that's something he wants to be part of or something that he's been eating recently. So vor red and newsreels. Those are our comments from YouTube. We do have one comment from TikTok, which is, what's this? And that's pretty much the only comment we got from TikTok, which is, I guess, is better than telling me to floss.
Yeah, I just got another comment. You were about to raise your hand, so I was going to make the prophecy come true.
I'm about to raise my hand?
Yeah, do you get those? I keep getting these when we do TikTok. A message pops up in the bottom and says, you are about to raise your hand, and then it goes away real quick. It goes bloop, bloop.
I get you're about to poop in your shorts, but that never happens.
Somebody said that to you?
No, I made that up, just like what you just made up, you crazy
No,
person.
I am not making it up. This happened for the past 3 weeks.
Right, and you're on TikTok right now.
I'm not, but something.
That's the thing. Is actually, we should work that out. We should work out getting you on TikTok, and then you could join the live stream that I'm having here, and I could have you as a co-host on TikTok, so then people would be able to see both sides of the conversation. We could make that happen. The technology is there, let alone the technology. We're gonna have earthquakes while we do this.
The technology.
Yes, the technology. And then it could be like an entirely new thing. It could be incredible, Greg. But we'd have to get your headset working.
How does this person know that I'm about to raise my hand? I don't get it.
Greg, you don't have TikTok, so they don't know anything.
I don't know who it is, though.
You are making things up, Greg. You're not even on YouTube.
Fine. I'd make up something a little more funny or weird. It just says...
No, you're not that creative. You're giving yourself too much credit.
It says you are about to raise your hand in a few minutes or something.
No, it doesn't say that. It just says, what's this? That's all it says.
Okay, mine says that. Mine says...
Your what says what?
There's a little message that pops up from the bottom of the screen.
What screen of what?
I'm watching you on Zoom.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're sending it to me. That could be the only...
I'm not sending you anything.
You're gaslighting me right now,
Matt. Now I know you've been dating your girlfriend too long. You start using that terminology.
So I don't understand how
anything.
You're such a narcissist. You're such a narcissist. But so it is coming up though. I'm not lying. I'm not joking. The past 3 weeks, every now and then, the thing comes up and says, you're about to raise your hand in like a minute or soon or something.
I don't know what you're talking about, Greg.
I don't either. It's fucking weird.
Are you saying it's just showing up on Zoom?
Whatever it is. I don't know. I guess I'm watching.
Whatever it is.
I'm watching you on Zoom right now, right?
Yes, so we're both on Zoom. That is how we're having this conversation.
So you know where letterboxed and the black, it comes up just in the black. It says... The message kind of goes up for a second. It goes, bloop. You're about to raise your hand in 2 minutes. And then it goes, bloop. Doesn't make that sound.
It says you're about to raise your hand.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense at all.
I know.
And then do you actually raise your hand in 2 minutes?
I did this time just because I was like, shit, maybe I'll give this person a thrill.
I have no idea what you're...
I think it's the Ghost in the Machine. I think it's like Lawnmower Man.
How about that?
Oh, there's a hand.
I did that on purpose. I raised the hand.
Yeah.
So, just so you could have something like that show up. And then I lowered the hand. So there we go. All right. Well, I believe that today we did right by our client, which was 10 steps to becoming a spelunking junkie, or a junkie who spelunks. It was a full and exciting episode filled with treasure and nothing involving the Sierra Madre. It was. I think if people watch this, they got some value out of it. They got it's something they could take back and give to their kids. I think this was a very valuable lesson.
They might find treasure in a cave, yes, but we did not show them how to find any treasure.
No, but I'm saying this show was treasure for them.
Oh, metaphorically.
Yes, metaphorical treasure, but also literal treasure for them. You know, something that they could have and store in their minds for the rest of their lives.
Like Bitcoin.
Yes, exactly. We are providing TFTs to people. These are totally fungible tokens. Or in this case, totally fungible talkings. Because as you and I are talking to each other. All right, well, that's enough of this nonsense. Let's end it. This has been the Law Offices.
You're about to raise your hand.
What?
Not
no,
now.
I'm not doing it.
Sorry, it said it right now. It said it again, though. I just want you to know.
I did it again. How about this? Where I block my eyeballs and then I move them forward.
Just wanted you to know I wasn't crazy.
Camera, and then back. I don't know what you're talking about.
And then it has a blue box that says "Not now," but I never get the time to do it.
Does it ever say that you're about to pick your nose?
No, it just says that.
It's just raising your hand. Yeah, I don't know what you're seeing there, Greg.
It's weird.
It is. You have your own cryptid that you're dealing with. Anyway, as we end off, this has been... Would you like to end us off, Greg? You do it. You end us off.
This has been the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker.
Excellent work there, Greg.
Your consultation with the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker has ended. You may pay your retainer at www.qsblaw.org. Please exit to the right of the water cooler and grab a candy from the front desk. We hope to see you again soon, but you need to leave now. I said leave. Why don't they ever listen? Get out! Get out!